Welcome to Sarah Talks Food for the Soul. Today I get to sit down with Peggy McColl, New York Times best-selling author, mentor, and coach. And my life forever changed about 6 years ago when I met Peggy McColl at a live event. I sat in the front row. I had just quit my marketing job, and I was really seeking and searching and wondering what the next step for me was going to be. This powerful woman inspired me to know that I absolutely deserve to have money in my life, to have happiness in my life, and that I truly can create the life of my dreams if I choose to believe. And so I know that the law of attraction, for a lot of people is one of those things where we think, oh, just think positively and everything's going to happen. And then people get kind of cynical about it when those things don't manifest. But Peggy teaches us that it's not about just thinking about those things. There is a lot of action that's required. And there are some really key tools that she teaches us in today's conversation that I want you to listen to and write down. So grab your notebook, sit back, and enjoy this conversation with New York Times bestselling author, Peggy McColl. Well, thanks so much again, Peggy, for being with me here today. I'm just so excited to get to talk to you about manifesting wealth and how we can become wealthier people, more successful people, and some of the strategies that you've employed in your life to help you to create the abundance and the wealth that you have. So this is an opportunity to hopefully pick your brain and have that chance to really sit down and connect with you. So I'm really excited.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. It's great to be here. I really appreciate it. Any chance that I have an opportunity to share, what that does is it just reaffirms the messages, because every time we speak them, this is why when you teach is so valuable, because every time you speak them, you hear them as well. So, I don't do what I do for my own sake, but one of the premises for being successful is if you help another person be successful, you will be successful. So it was a great place to start, actually.
Wow. And I think that you really speak that in all of your books. I really get that sense that you're truly here to serve. You talk a lot about kindness and about how important it is to be kind to other people and to really love other people and to, not even to get upset with other people when they're upset. You really have this amazing ability to step outside and to realize that your emotions don't have to be affected by other people's emotions. And I know in your Destiny Switch, you talk a lot about managing your own emotions, those key emotions. I just find it amazing how strong-willed you are in yourself for being the kind of woman that can just stand in your own power and know that you don't have to be affected by all of this other stuff. You can really stay true to who you really are. I find that really admirable.
Well, I've been at this for about 36 years, meaning studying personal development, and not just passively, but aggressively studying it. And then over 20 years ago, I incorporated my business so that I could be doing this work full time that I deeply love. But what I've found is I tend to distill things down to the most simplistic understanding, because if we don't understand it, we're never going to apply it. And if we don't understand it and apply it, we're never going to experience positive change. So the simplistic understanding is we attract based on what we're feeling. We're feeling good, we're going to attract good. We're feeling bad, we're going to attract bad. So all you need to do is notice how you're feeling. Now, I'm not saying I never get upset or I don't get frustrated or I don't get fearful or I don't have doubt. All those emotions come up. They come up for every single living human being on the planet. But it's what are you going to do about it? And what are you going to focus your attention on? Because we're creating based on how we're feeling, or based on what we're focusing on at any given moment. So most people continue to experience more of the same in their life because they continue to feel the same feelings, that think about the same things. It's like they get up every morning, we got a chance to create it's a brand new day. We woke up this morning, it's like, okay, brand new day to create. What are you going to create today? What are you going to create in your life? What would you love to be experiencing in your life? But what happens is people don't even think that way. They get up and they start to think in reverse. They start to think about, what happened yesterday or many yesterdays ago, or they start to think about the debt pile that they have. So what happens is they're continuing to recreate more of the same. And so that's something that you don't want to experience in your life. Then you got to think differently. You got to be differently. You got to feel differently. And of course, you got to do differently as well. And once you get that, and really understand it, then you're going to start to experience really, really great change. But it takes time. It does take time. And
well, yeah, and I was going to say, and I've researched a little bit about your history, and knowing that at 19 years of age is when you sort of had an epiphany because you met Bob Proctor at that time. And that's when things really started to shift for you. So I know that a lot of people right now are hearing about, the law of attraction. And when that came out, the movie The Secret and the book The Secret, that all came out, people started to kind of think about these concepts and ideas. And then I think people are starting to get a bit cynical about the idea of the law of attraction. And all I have to do is think about this happy thing and it's going to just appear into my life. And so I'd love to hear a bit more about your story, about how you went from a girl who, as a teenager, you were an angry teenager, and I know that you've talked about feelings of unworthiness. You went to alcohol and you went to seeking relationships, and how you went from that kind of a person to become the woman that you are today. And I know it's taken time, but I'm curious if you can walk us through a little bit of that experience.
Sure, be happy to. I think the reason why people get cynical about The Secret, and I'm going to blend this into my own experience, is because they start to focus on the positives in life. They follow the whole idea and the premise around deciding what it is you want, and seeing it in your mind and connecting to the feeling, and they do that. But then an hour later, they start to think about the debt, or the doorbell rings and it's
and I was going to say, Dee Dee's probably going crazy out there. If you want to go and grab that door, feel free. We can do that.
Somebody walked away from the front door, so I don't know who it was. So that's okay. So they rang the doorbell. They probably left something at the door and then they walked away. Probably a courier or something like that.
Sounds good.
Anyways, the challenge is that I think that people, they get the whole idea. Okay, I can create and I can. But then the next moment they're off track, or the next hour they're off track. It's a 24/7 thing. This isn't like a 5 minutes a day. You sit down, you close your eyes, and you get into a meditative state, and you see yourself with your brand new bicycle. And that was an example that they had in The Secret, right? Yeah. Or your home, or your relationship. It's not that. It isn't a matter of, John Assaraf, who I love and appreciate, had his vision board, right? And staring at a picture of a house and then realizing 5 years later, like, oh my goodness, I'm living in that house. It's more than that. It's so much more than that. And it's not that The Secret didn't say that. It was people's perception. It's how people perceive it. Everything that people are hearing right now, as we're having this conversation, is going to go through their filters, right? They're going to maybe open up their consciousness. It's going to come in. They go, oh, that's an interesting idea. Oh, okay, I like that. Okay, that's a great technique. And then bam, and now, of course, what it does is it goes through the system, and then it gets blocked, right? It gets blocked. Where does it get blocked? It gets blocked in the old belief systems. And so when we look at the world and the ones that are creating, the ones that are really experiencing love in their life, success in their life, abundance in their life, it's few. I was driving back this morning. Denny and I have a waterfront place, and I was coming back to our house this morning, and I was thinking about relationships. Now I know Sarah, you're in a very happy relationship, and I'm in a happy relationship. And I know it wasn't your experience in the past, and it certainly wasn't my experience in the past either. But fortunately, I've attracted him into my life. But I started thinking about how few, like our next door neighbors at the cottage, have a really beautiful, loving, respectful, strong relationship. And you guys have a strong relationship. How few and far between that is. Now, I don't ever take my relationship for granted. This is not something that I just, attracted Denny into my life and went, I'm done now. It's something I work on every day. It's like on the weekend, he said something and I found myself feeling upset. Now, he didn't upset me. I interpreted it as upset. And I just, got calm for a moment, and I asked myself, why am I feeling upset? Right? And I just thought I'd be with that for a moment to get, to go a little deeper and figure out, where's that coming from? And then we had a conversation about it. But the conversation was loving and respectful. It wasn't screaming. It wasn't like, rah, 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 you made me feel. It wasn't any of that. It's like, okay, let me understand how you're feeling. He's got feelings too. What am I doing? I'm appreciating him. I'm respecting him. I'm loving. Many years ago, I heard a 5-word question that can completely change your life. And it's by a guy by the name of Neil Donald Walsh. Anytime you're faced with conflict or some kind of a challenge where you're up against something, just ask yourself this question. What would love do now? What would love do now? So when on the weekend I'm feeling a little, uncomfortable with what, Denny had said. What would love do now? Well, love would seek to understand. I love this man. This man loves me. We've got a beautiful relationship. Well, help me understand, why you're feeling that way. And then I got to the root of it. I got to what was really going on for him. And it was like, oh, okay, I totally respect that. And when he sees that, so this is something we work on every day. When I was 19, I was a mess, an emotional, financial, physical mess, absolute mess. Now, why was I a mess? Well, like many people, I was raised in what's called an abusive environment, right? And we're talking about physical abuse, psychological abuse, verbal abuse. It was like that. Like, I remember one time my girlfriend's daughter used to spend a lot of time with my son and I, and this is when I was a single mom. And she was 11 at the time, and my son was, I don't know, maybe 6 or something like that, 5, 6. And she said to me, and she was kind of like annoyed. She said to me, "Why do you keep telling your son that you love him?" Right? Wow. And I said, "I want him to know." And she says, "Well, I think he knows." Right? It's like out of the mouths of babes. Kids will just be honest, right? "Well, I think he knows." And it's like, well, why would that even upset you? She says, "Well, you're telling him all the time, all the time, all the time." You see, I never had anyone tell me, "I love you." 3 words, "I love you." No one said that to me as a kid, ever, ever. I don't think my mom ever said it the 77 years that she was here on this planet.
Wow.
I think my dad one time said the words, "It's because we love you," once. And that was like he died when he was 75, and that was probably when he was about 73. So it's not a matter of, now my parents loved us. I know they loved us. They did the best they could with what they knew. But as a result, I was this messed up teenager. Like, I really didn't even have any desire to live. I was seriously thinking about exiting the earth, right? How can I, and I thought, well, I won't do it because they're going to hurt my mom too much. But that's like the depth of pain, and emotions can be painful, right?
And it makes me want to say that, and words can be so powerful, because I'm thinking, if you knew that they loved you, but they just never told you that they loved you, and that caused so much pain that you were contemplating suicide as a young kid. Think about the power that words have if that's the case.
So true. So true.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I met Bob Proctor, I was 19 years of age, and I was sitting there, and I was just like my mouth hanging open while I was watching him. And this was all new concepts to me, right? I was programmed. I was wired very differently to what he was saying. But something occurred that night that just opened up this, even if it was just a little space of, ooh, maybe you can entertain that idea for a moment. And he said some things that night, I call them epiphanies, that completely and utterly changed the direction of my life. And one of the things that he said is, he quoted Vernon Howard. And Vernon Howard said, "You can't escape from a prison unless you know you're in one." And I thought, wow, I was in a prison of my own making. I had made it all up. The only reason why I was experiencing misery is because I had created it. How many people go through lives where they're, abused or have nothing or beaten or horrible things, and they build an extraordinary life? Why? Because they decide to do something about it, right? I had a conversation on the weekend with a neighbor who was talking about immigrants who come to Canada, right? And they come to Canada and they succeed. They come with $10 in their pocket, and bam, 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 they build these empires. Why? Because they didn't have, these opportunities. We live in a land of opportunity. They didn't have these opportunities. They see them when they get here. Well, everyone has those opportunities.
Totally. And do you think it's about not having a victim mentality, that it's really about having a totally different mindset, that they come over here, like you said, with $10 in their pockets, and they bust their butts to create a life that they couldn't have even dreamed of where they came from?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying it's a cultural thing or it's a country thing. It just is. It's just a thing. There's plenty of Canadians that are making truckloads of money. There's plenty of Americans making truckloads of money. It's not that we don't have to come from poverty and from living in some third world country to create success. Everybody has these opportunities. We're connected. I teach online marketing as well. We're connected via, you and I are here right now. We happen to live in the same city, but I've done interviews and you've done interviews with people that are some other side of the world, and we can connect and communicate with each other. Yeah. So what happened for me, 19 was the awakening, right? It was this moment of awakening going, holy crap. If my life's a mess, I just need to look in the mirror, and that's the person that I can blame. And blame isn't going to do anything. That's the person who I can take responsibility for. So if I want to experience a new life, I have to change what I've been thinking. I got to change my paradigms. I got to change what's in my heart, who I believe I am. And I got to do some things differently. So it's a dedication. It's a commitment. This morning when I was driving back, my husband wanted to use my car and wanted to trade cars. I like using my car because I plug in, like I've got Dr. Joseph Murphy ready to roll, and and all these other Neville Goddard and Bob Proctor, and my own. I have something else that I listen to every single day. And it's not in my husband's car. Now it's on my iPhone. I suppose I could hook up his Bluetooth thing and figure that all out, but he's going to get the neighbor to pull the boat out of the water, and I can have my own vehicle. But the point is, when we get up in the morning, you get up in the morning, right? You're gonna have water. You're gonna, I have my smoothie. We're gonna fuel our bodies, because if we don't, we're gonna die, right? We're gonna die. If we don't drink water, eat food, we will die. It's just a matter of time, but we will die. I feel the exact same way about my brain. What am I putting in my mind every single day? I got an email this morning, like you probably get a lot of junk email in your inbox too, right? So some junk, and I'm hitting delete, in the morning. And there was one email there. I don't know who it was from, but it caught my eye. Why it caught my eye was something about the potential crisis in the United States. I don't even know what it was about, but it stopped me. I mean, I didn't push the delete key as fast as I would, and it stopped me. And for a moment, I thought, oh, I should open that. It was talking about there's some devastation coming, right? And I thought to myself, in that moment, this is what creates crisis in the world. People get somebody, speaks the words. Other people are going, oh, yeah, right? Why do people watch the news? Why is there even news on, right? Why can't we have happy news, positive news? Because people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So the thought that I had while I saw this email come up that said, crisis coming and you need to be aware, blah, 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 was like, it's saying you need to be aware, was like, oh crap, maybe I should be aware. And I thought, you know what? I don't participate in crisis. I don't participate in recession. I've been telling people I don't participate in flu bugs that are going around, or colds or anything like that. All a choice. What are we going to do about it? Every day I feed my mind. So when I was 19, I thought, this guy, Bob Proctor, is onto something. He had been studying this stuff for quite a few years at that point in his life. And I thought, you know what? I know he has the knowledge and the understanding to help me change my life. He's not going to do it for me. I've got to do it. And I'm making a commitment right now at this young age that I'm going to turn my life around. And that's exactly what I did. I just started reading. Bob would recommend a book. I wouldn't read it, I'd devour it. He'd recommend an audio program. I would buy the audio program. I'd wear it out. I'd have to buy his audio programs multiple times because they were like cassettes, way back then.
Yeah.
I'd wear them, they'd break because of use, right? Throw them in the garbage, buy a new set. And then of course when CDs came along, and then MP3s, and I would just, change formats and buy it again. I bought stuff multiple times through repetition. It's through repetition of wise thoughts that helps build the belief system. In Dr. Joseph Murphy's book, Master Key to Wealth, which was one of my favorite books, he said it's through faith and expectancy and repetition. It's through repetition, faith, and expectancy. Repetition. What's repetition? Repetition of things that are going to support you. Like, I always have plenty of money to do whatever I want to do. Like, does that support you? Is that something you'd like to experience? So it's through repetition. You don't say it once. Like I have a rituals, right? I get up in the morning and I immediately start to say my affirmations. I grab my gratitude journal. I write my gratitude journal. Then I have a goal card. I carry my goal card with me. This is not a once in a while thing. It's an every day occurrence. And it doesn't just stop. Let's say I wake up at 6 a.m. It's not over at 6:08. It's an ongoing thing. You've got to be doing this stuff all day long. And it's not hard. It's not hard. right?
So let's get into that a little bit, because I want people to understand sort of where you came from and how you got to where you are as, one of the most successful authors, certainly the most successful author I'm connected with. You're the New York Times best-selling author. You've written and co-written over, I believe, 10 books that you've done.
Yeah.
You're an international speaker, you're a trainer and a coach. And so at 19 years of age, you're working for a computer company and you're sitting there and they decide to get Bob Proctor in as the motivational speaker. And you don't know anything about this guy. And you're sitting in the front row, which was not usual for you. You would normally probably be farther in the back, but you, for some reason, were sitting in that front row and something went off in you. A light bulb went off in you when you started to hear him speak. And all of a sudden you started to go on to this new path of, wait a minute, I can control my fate. I can create a destiny that's something that I want to, live. And so when you talk about gold cards and affirmations, if I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this today and I'm hearing you, where do I start? What do I do if I'm someone that says, I've had enough, I'm working in a job, I'm in a cubicle, I don't like what I'm doing, I have ideas, or I have a thought that maybe I have a dream of something that I'd like to do that isn't this. How does someone get started, and where would you point them in? What direction would you point them in to just make that shift?
Well, I started with getting in a program, because the program is like being in study, right? It's like getting in classes. And when you're in classes, then you're almost like not forced, but because you're going into a room, if you will, to get into the study of it. And that's what I did. So get in a program, whether it's buy a program online, download something, make it a study. Like if you're going to go get a degree in something, you're going to go to university and you're going to study certain things. So it depends on what you really want to have happen in your life. So what do you want to experience? And I suspect, most people want balance, right? They want the happy relationships. They want the financial situations. They want the great health. They want their body to be in great shape. I mean, they want all those things. It's not just one thing, but quite often we're driven to pursue one thing more than the other. And not that you can't pursue 5 things at one time. You can pursue 5 things. That you can pursue, the healthy relationship. You can pursue the great weight in the physical body. You can pursue financial balance. You can pursue having your own business. You can pursue abundance in your life. I mean, you can pursue anything you want. There's no limit. It's not only 5 things or 2 things or 1 thing. So I would start with deciding what you want. Get a book. I've written 10 of them. Get a book and start studying. Your Destiny Switch is my most successful book. Get that book and start studying it, right? Get into a program somewhere, somehow. Bob Proctor teaches programs. I have programs on my website, and just make it a study. Every single day, make it a study. If you come into my home, which I am right now, or you go into my waterfront home, which I just came from earlier this morning, you'll find stacks of books and materials. Get in my car and come for a car ride with me, and you'll be hearing somebody playing in my car. I don't listen to music, or rarely listen to music. I actually like quiet, or I like listening to motivational stuff. And, it's 36 years I've been at this, but you got to start somewhere. Get a book would be a great place to start.
Yeah, I agree with that advice. And I do love the advice as well of, tuning out the negative news. And a lot of people have a really hard time with that, because they think, how can you be so disconnected? You're so out of touch if you don't know what's going on, politically and throughout the world, and what wars are happening right now. And if you're out of touch that way, you're really not able to, converse with other people. I'm sort of okay with that. There are a lot of times that I'll just say, yeah, you can go ahead and talk about what's going on overseas or what's happening right now. But I'm just not willing to go there. I just don't want to talk about those negative things.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't really know what's going on in the world either. My husband does, and he'll tell me if he feels inclined, or, you invite a whole bunch of people around your dinner table and you'll hear what's going on in the world. I mean, it's kind of hard. Go to the grocery store and you pick up a few things, you'll see things, it's not that difficult to figure out what's going on in the world. And it's not that it's a problem to know what's going on in the world. It's really, how do you interpret it? And how are you feeling as a result? I mean, you could be somebody who's looking at war all the time, but yet you're feeling peace, right? And you're projecting peace. So that's a highly evolved being that's doing that. But yeah, I get it. I really, and I don't apologize for it. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel stupid or anything like that, because I don't know what the heck's going on in the world. I know sometimes I'll be having a conversation and somebody will say, the smoke's getting really bad in our city. It's like, smoke? Yeah, well, because of the fires. What fires? You don't know about the fires? No.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Absolutely. So let's backtrack just a little bit. You were talking about when John Assaraf talks in The Secret about that the house that he's manifested, he just can't believe that this is the house that he has now, and he put that on his vision board. You know, can people start with the idea of getting a vision board or starting with positive affirmations? I know we talked about starting with getting a book and starting to research the idea of the law of attraction and using the power of our mind to be able to create the destiny of our dreams. So when you were saying about having the gold card in your pocket and having those affirmations and that gratitude journal in the day, I know that just like with health, I'm not the person I am today because, you know, I've had to go through a whole bunch of other little baby steps before getting to be someone who I consider to be a very healthy woman. And, you know, for a long time, I was very unhealthy. So just like health and wellness and food and nutrition played a role that way in my life. And I had to take those small steps. I'd love to hear, you know, a little bit about your daily rituals. You sort of touched on it. So when you said you wake up in the morning and you write in that gratitude journal. So this is something that you have habitualized every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, these are what's called tools. At the end of the day, here's what's most important. You've got to feel as if you already have that which you desire. Not pretend, not act as if, it is an act as if, but really feel you are living it now. You're in that home. You have that business. The money's in your account. You're enjoying your relationship. What would it feel like? You know, I have a book cover that I recently designed, and the book cover says the last self-help book ever. And I was showing it to a friend the other day, and they said, wow, that's a great title. You know, what are you writing in there? I said, I'm writing 3 things. There's going to be 3 lines in that entire book. It says, number 1, decide what you want. Number 2, determine what it's going to feel like when you have it, because nobody can determine that for you. What's it going to feel like for you? I was teaching a class the other day. I was teaching a class based on Master Key to Wealth. And I asked the students, it was an online thing, and I asked the students in the room, I said, if I was to ask you right now, how does it feel to be abundantly wealthy? You have all the money in the world. Tell me what that feels like for you. And all of a sudden the chat screen's on the right-hand side was like, bam, 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 bam. Not one answer was the same. You know, it was freedom. It's like, you know, relief, you know, just different things, you know, happy, elation. I mean, there's like all these answers started coming in. That's number 2, determine what's it going to feel like when you have that which you desire. Step number 3, go straight to feeling, right? So if you had that right now, like, oh my God, it's like the happiest I've ever been. I was watching, my husband loves golf, and I was watching an interview yesterday. I was actually working with my laptop and he was watching golf at the same time. And actually he asked me, he said, do you mind if I, you know, do this while you're doing that? I said, no, go ahead. And it was an interview with Jordan Spieth. Now this guy's like 21 years of age. I mean, he's soon going to be the #1 golfer in the world. Okay. The #1 golfer. This guy is like kicking butt and taking names. He's winning all these tournaments all over the place. He's just gone right up the charts. And he said something. He said something that's in exact alignment with what I'm talking about. He said when he was putting on the Masters jacket, right? You get to put on the green jacket when you win the Masters. And he was putting on the green jacket. He said, in that moment, I was taking it all in. And he said, I was looking around. He said, I felt the best I've ever felt in my life. The best I've ever felt in my life. And I thought to myself, bam, that's it. You got to feel like you're feeling the best you've ever felt in your life. That's what you got to feel like.
And I'm so curious to know if he had tried on jackets in his room, you know what I mean? And really kind of gotten into that feeling before he even ended up winning.
Well, Mike Weir did that. Like Mike Weir is a Canadian and won the Masters. What he did was he had a trophy shelf in his home. So from all the tournaments that he had won, well, he made room. He pushed aside some other trophies and said, that's where I'm going to put the trophy for winning the Masters. You make room for it in your life, right? You want a relationship like my friend Ariel Ford. I mean, she teaches how to attract your soulmate, right? You make room in your cupboard if you're a single girl and you want to have that man. Empty some drawers, like make room for that man to come into your life. Get ready for romantic dinners. Like get ready for it. So when you ask me about my rituals, there is one thing that I have been doing for a couple decades now, which is the most powerful thing that I have ever done. And I call it the Power Life Script. And what it is where I have scripted And this is what I was working on yesterday when I had my laptop, because I was modifying it, because Danny and I are going to be building a home. We bought this piece of land on the water just down the street. It's the nicest piece of land on the lake. It's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. You get sunrise and sunset. The sunrise is there, the sun sets there. And you have the whole point. It's like over 700 feet of waterfront. It's like breathtaking, breathtaking. And so we're looking at either renovating the place that's there, or we're going to build something, bulldoze and just build, you know, whatever we want. So yesterday when I was in my life script, which is really a description, my life script's about, I don't know, maybe 16 pages in a Word document that I've scripted my life. Like, and it's describing how I feel living my extraordinary life. It's the relationship I have with my husband. It's the relationship I have with my son. It's the relationship I have with my grandson, who are the three most important men in my life. It includes our doggies, which I heard earlier, barking at the door. You know, Pablo and Noel, I talk about the property and how it's safe for them, and how we go walking with our dogs and we hold hands. I mean, you got to see it, right? You see all of it in the whole experience when you listen to the life script. So what I do is I write it and then I record it. So today, as an example, because we actually did the deal on this property on the weekend. So we entered into an agreement. So I came back and I modified my script. What I do, I'll add that address that we also own this place, and I have the address there. So I record it. And I record it. It takes me about 23 minutes, you know, something like that. And when I record it with all the enthusiasm in the world. So it's like, Peggy McColl, am so happy and I'm so grateful now that, and then I just describe my life. And then when I play it later, I'll put it on my iPhone, and so it's connected. I can hear. I can plug in my earphones at night when I go to bed, or I can push play when I'm getting ready in the morning. Get in my car, hook it up to the Bluetooth. I listen to it every day. Sometimes I'll listen to it multiple times a day. The other day I drove over to my hairdresser, and she's about a 40-minute drive. And so 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back. I got to listen to it several times that day. If I drive over to the waterfront place, that's a 35-minute drive. I can listen to it 1.5 times. And
what an amazing technique. I think a lot of people might start getting into that. So when you say record it, you're just going on your iPhone and you're just recording yourself reading your script. That's all you're doing?
Yeah. And you know, I use Audacity, and I just put my microphone into my computer, and I'll use Audacity. It's a free software. Anybody can go online and download Audacity, and I push record. When you're done, you hit space bar. Now, sometimes I'll put music. I'll put binaural beat music, so it's going left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. I don't always do that, but you could, you know, just listen to the music while you're listening to it. But the real key is, you know, as I said before, there's 3 steps. 1, decide what you want. 2, determine what it's going to feel like when you have it. And 3, go straight to feeling. What it does, especially when you record it, I like to stand up while I'm recording because my energy level's higher, right? It's like, I am so happy. And if you're saying the word so happy, right, I am so happy, you know, don't just let them out the words. This is the thing. This is another reason why people, I'm going to say, screw up or fail. It's not a judgment thing. It just is, right? Is because they repeat affirmations. You know, I'm rich beyond my wildest dreams. I'm happy. I'm a healthy multimillionaire. And put this thing, they're almost robotic. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. Yeah. And so it's not a matter of repeating affirmations or just spewing words out of your mouth. You got to feel it. That's where the power is. You got to feel as if it's already there. Now, there's a saying that says if you hear something over and over again enough times, you'll start to believe it. That's why I've been doing this for decades, because my life wasn't like this when I started. Yeah. You know, it was like a total, you know, acting experience. You know, recently I signed up for Dustin Hoffman's acting class.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I saw you post something and I want to talk about that a little bit. I love it.
Freaking awesome. It's awesome. I love it. I had signed up for James Patterson's master class because I teach writers, right? And I'm always interested in to hear what. Now, I'm only going to learn from who I believe are the experts, right? Those that have blazed the trail before me. James Patterson's doing all right in this world as an author, right? Millions and millions and millions of dollars. So I took his class, and of course, being in the master class, they show you the other ones, like Serena Williams, who teaches tennis, and I'm thinking of taking hers next because I like tennis, and Dustin Hoffman, who teaches acting. Now, I got a lot of respect for Dustin Hoffman. He's a phenomenal actor. Now, I'm not looking to run off to Hollywood to become an actor. That's not the purpose of taking it. The purpose of taking acting classes, it's the whole premise for manifestation. You got to portray something that feels real. Like the reason why these people win Academy Awards for Best Actor, you know, the females and the males, is because we're convinced, oh my goodness, she really was that woman who was dealing with a life-threatening situation and was dying. I mean, tears coming down her face. What's going on? Right? They are convincing. It's like Marlon Brando. That's what I quoted on Facebook, is Marlon Brando, who was considered, like, if you do a little research, Marlon Brando is considered one of the greatest actors of all time. And he said that if I can't be that role, be that character, I don't take the character, I don't take the role. And I believe it's the same thing for success. If you want to be successful and you don't see yourself, you know, playing that role in life, you're not gonna do anything with it. You're not gonna be anything with it. You won't achieve anything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when I think about really believing that you can play that role. So it takes me back to the concept of self-worth and worthiness. And for people who are watching today, and I know that I have even had worthiness issues. I think you touched on the fact that you had worthiness issues when you were a teenager. How do we make that switch? I mean, barring we get to sit in the front row and all of a sudden Bob Proctor pops into our mind, you know, into our lives, you know, yes, we can go out and get a book, but how can we, what would you suggest for people who really do think that they deserve better and they want more, but they just don't have that deep down feeling of worthiness?
Okay. So here's the thing, and I really, really hope whoever's listening really listens, okay? Number one, you know, recognize that you are worthy. You're meant to live an abundant life. You're meant to live a happy life. That's why you were here. Everyone has that opportunity. You got to believe that right out of the gate. Number two, your paradigms, it's our belief systems, are attracting to us everything into our life. So if your paradigm or your belief system is not something that's supportive of that, meaning, you know, you don't deserve this, you're not worthy, regardless of what went on in your life in the past. And like, that's, people harbor a lot of guilt, right? Or they're angry, so they're holding resentment. All that crap is just that. It's crap. Anything that doesn't feel good is going to hold you back. You got to get rid of it. You know, every Friday here, we take the garbage out to the end of the driveway, and along comes a truck and takes that crap away, right? We don't want it. We're saying this has no value here. No value. Get rid of it. And it's gone. You know, my husband actually sent me a text. I don't know if you heard that beep a little while ago, and he said he's going off to the dump. Why is he going to the dump? Because he's taking crap. It's the neighbor that he's going with. The neighbor doesn't want this stuff anymore. Get rid of the crap that's not supporting you. So how do you do it? Well, you just eliminate it. Don't give it any more energy. But you need to replace it. You need to replace it. That's what the life script does. That's what a power life script does. It affirms, reaffirms, and affirms, you know, through repetitions, what Master Key to Wealth is. Dr. Joseph Murphy says repetition, faith, and expectancy. This is all you really need, okay? Repetition, repetition, repetition. I am a happy and a healthy multimillionaire. I'm a happy and a healthy multimillionaire. I'm happy and a healthy multimillionaire. I deserve to be rich. I'm abundantly wealthy. Whatever it is, you know, just affirm, repetition, repetition. Faith means you got to believe it. You got to believe in the unseen. That's a tough one for a lot of people. You know, well, I can believe in it when, you know, the debt collectors are calling. What? It's like, yeah, actually. I had a client of mine tell me last week, just a week ago, this woman started to work with me, I'd say 21 months ago. 21 months ago, she hired me. She wanted to work with me one-on-one, mentoring her. And I didn't know it at the time, but she borrowed the money from her sister. And she registered for a mentoring service that was about $7,000. Now, apparently, she didn't have $7,000. She didn't have $7. Now, I didn't know she borrowed the money from her sister. She just went to my website and she signed up for mentoring. And I saw that it came in, and I contacted her and said, let's get started. Let's get booked. And she was telling me, and we got to know each other, obviously, from me working with her and giving her guidance, but she was in a financial mess. I mean, her life was upside down, upside down. I didn't know the extent of it until last week when she told me she was about $1.5 million in debt. In debt. I mean, what some people would consider choking, like choking.
Yeah.
And she said that I suggested to her, I don't remember what I suggested. You know, sometimes it just comes through me when I'm doing mentoring. Like sometimes people say, well, what's the agenda? I don't have an agenda. What do you need? And I'm going to help you get whatever you want. Right? So that's what I do. So when I met her and I got to the core of what's going on, you know, why are you not experiencing that which you desire? I realized she had a lot of issues around money. So I was giving her guidance on how to see her financial situation so that she didn't see herself as, you know, poor, or it's not a condition, it's a temporary experience. She's just experiencing that in her life because of what's gone on in the past, right? If this is what you want to experience, continue to think the same crap, feel the same feelings, and do the same things, you're going to get the same results. So I said to her, what would you love? And so she told me, I said, so when you get the debt collectors calling, I'm not saying ignore them, don't, take responsibility. You know, let them know what's going on, reach out to them. Sometimes if you just call them and say, here, what's going on in my life, I'm going to do what I can, and, you know, maybe pay a small portion and show some accountability and some responsibility for your debt, and do some things that are going to turn it around, and, you know, you're going to feel better. But just choose to see your life the way you want it to be. And she was telling me that she's completely turned it all around. She's now at, you know, what some people call ground zero, right? It's like when Donald Trump was walking out of a building one day and he was with his wife, and there was a bum in the street. And his wife made some comment about the bum in the street, you know, saying this guy, you know, has got nothing. And Donald Trump said, that guy's worth more than I am.
I remember that, yeah.
And she's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? He's a bum in the street. You know, you're Donald Trump. You know, this was a while ago. This is when,
I think he said, you know, he's $96 million richer than I am, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, because he was upside down financially. That's temporary. People that have wealth consciousness in their mind don't see debt as who they are. They see it as a temporary condition and something that they are in control of and something they can change. And this is what I taught her. She's turned her life around. Now she's got a business, it's thriving, it's growing, she's completely out of debt. Like, oh, what's that feel like? Now, the feelings that she's experiencing today are the feelings she was experiencing 21 months ago. She didn't have the evidence of it 21 months ago, but now she has the evidence of it. You know, when I found out my book was on the New York Times bestseller list, I didn't feel any different. And I remember the moment. I remember like it was yesterday. I picked up the phone and my agent said to me, oh, by the way, Peggy, your book's on the New York Times bestseller list. And I was jumping up and down, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't really feel any different. But why would I?
Because you had already felt that feeling through all of the scripting and the affirmations prior to that.
Yeah, this was a done deal. So,
and which book was that? I think all of them have gone bestseller. I think
almost. Rich. It's Your Destiny's Rich. Yeah.
Great book, absolutely, as they all are. I read "Be a Dog with a Bone" in an afternoon. It's a fabulous read, just a great read if you're looking for something that's just going to kind of kickstart those feelings of, wait a minute, I need to, if I really want something, I have to really make that decision to go for it. And so I think all of your books, I'm going through now the 21 Distinctions of Wealth, another great read, because I think it's one of those other ones that you can just take bite-sized pieces out of. It's meant to be designed that way, to take you throughout just over a year of going through affirmations. And so the power of affirmations, I hadn't really focused too much on that. I have used the law of attraction into my life. And when I first met you, Peggy, it was at an event where I wrote myself a letter 3 months in the future, talking about all of the things that I had and experienced and all of these wonderful things that were going on in my life. And I couldn't believe when I received that letter in the mail 3 months later, how many of them actually were accurate. I mean, it was really happening. So manifesting is something that I am familiar with, that I believe wholeheartedly, but I know for a lot of people, there is that skepticism. And again, I think sometimes, you know, the secret, people just took it as that top level where it's, oh yeah, if I just think about these wonderful things, they're going to happen. And that's not the point.
No, absolutely not the point. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I think getting in touch with someone like you, someone who can mentor and coach, your business is booming as it always has been. I think that you're just such a wealth of information. If anyone can be connected with you, please reach out to Peggy McColl. All of your contact information will be available at the bottom of this video. So Peggy, I look forward to people reaching out to you and having a chance to maybe work one-on-one with you or through your online programs. Go out and buy one of Peggy's books. Just start with one and see where you get with that. I think sometimes we can get overwhelmed with, you know, we try to do too many things at the same time. Stick to one thing. Like Peggy said, she walks around with a gold card in her pocket. I do the same thing. I just bought gold paper and I wrote down an affirmation on that piece of paper, tucked it in my pocket. And whenever I would just be out and about, I would just pull it out and read it. pop it back in. And it definitely helped me to manifest one of the most important things in my life, which is my relationship with Roger. So I'm so excited and happy that I was able to meet you as I did. That's probably about 6 years ago now. So I'm thrilled to have had that experience. And I'm glad that we've been able to continue our relationship as we've moved forward.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for being with me here today, Peggy. And I will talk to you soon.
Okay, perfect. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I hope you loved that conversation as much as I did. That lady gets me fired up. She is just such an awesome inspiration. She's always mentored and inspired me. And I just can't say enough good about that amazing lady. Check out her new book called Darn Easy. Work half as hard, earn twice as much while living the life of your dreams. It's coming out this December 11th, so perfect time for Christmas gifts. Check her out at peggymccall.com. You can find all of her social media accounts there as well. And definitely consider buying one of her books. Just get started. Maybe, Be a Dog with a Bone, or The 21 Distinctions of Wealth, or Your Destiny Switch. Honestly, that book really changed my life. So I want you to just start to think about one thing, like Peggy said, and go from there. But truly believe that you are worthy, that you can do it, no matter what this goal is, whether it's losing weight, whether it's finding a good relationship, whether it's making more money, whatever that is, start thinking about it, writing it down, and believing that you deserve it, because you do. I want you to love your life one bite at a time.